4:59. Good evening, everyone. We'll begin the meeting by acknowledging the continuing connection of Aboriginal people to country, culture and community, including traditional custodians of this land, the Wadandi and Kaniang people of the Noongar Nation, paying our respects to elders past and present. And we declare the meeting open at 5 p.m. A reminder that this session is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with Council Policy EM CP2. Members of the public are reminded that no other visual or audio recording of this meeting by any other means is allowed without the permission of the chairperson. And while every endeavour has been made to only record those who are actively participating in the meeting, loud comments or noises may be picked up on the recording. Agenda briefings are open to the public to attend and observe. However, any questions, deputations or petitions are presented to the Ordinary Council meeting next week. There is to be no debate-style discussion, as this needs to take place in the Ordinary meeting of Council when the issue is set for decision. So in attendance, we have Councillor Davey, Councillor Patrick, Councillor Glover, Councillor Lindeman, Councillor Bailey and Councillor Mitchell, and myself, Councillor McCarthy. The staff present are CEO Nick O'Connor, Director of Operations Ross Marshall, Acting Director of Finance and Corporate Lauren Clifford, Administration Officer Corporate Services Sam Farquhar. We welcome those attending in the public gallery and past Shire President Angelo Logiudice, and we also welcome those participating via live stream. Sorry, we also have in the gallery, what's Meta's title? Manager Financial Services, Meta Hazeldine. At 2.1, we have an apology from Peter Gubler. And at 2.2, an Ordinary Council meeting held last month, 23rd of July, we resolved under Resolution 131/0725 to approve Councillor Gubler's request for a leave of absence for the 20th to the 28th of August. At items 2.3 and 3, they don't apply tonight, so we can go straight through to item 4, declarations of interest. A reminder to councillors and staff that Division 6, Subdivision 1 of the Local Government Act 1995 states that care should be taken by all councillors, committee members and staff to ensure that a financial or impartiality interest is declared and that they refrain from voting on any matter which is considered to come within the ambit of the Act. We can note here that there are some questions and responses documented for the OCM next week. Councillor Lindeman, sorry.
I just wanted to highlight I will have a declaration of interest on Smith Street. There's some work being done and okay. I live on that street, so possibly a proximity there. Thank you.
And that applies to the agenda briefings as well. Sorry, Councillor. Any other councillors have a Councillor Glover?
I'd just like to express our declaration of interest for item 9.2.8, which is the invitation for a summit against anti-Semitism, if I can say that right, a conference, which I'd like to attend.
Thank you. And Anita, Councillor Lindeman, what was the item number that your declaration is for?
It's actually a confidential, was it confidential
Closed
item?
item.
Closed item 12.1.12. Sorry, 12.1.2, sorry.
2. Okay. Councillor Mitchell.
2. I will declare an impartiality on the rationalisation one because I've got a friend, a long lifetime friend, was involved with the Triggle Street lots. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us.
And that was item number 9. 9.3.1.
Yeah.
And that was impartiality.
Yes, thank you.
And councillor Lindeman, yours was impartiality as well, was it?
I thought it was more proximity. I
Sorry?
would expect proximity.
Proximity. And councillor Glover's, yours was financial? Want clarification from CEO?
Yeah, if I can, please, because I wasn't even sure I needed to declare it.
I guess it's a gift. I guess it's a gift, so we can go with financial.
Financial, okay. All right. Okay, thank you, councillors. And we note there are some questions and responses documented ready for the OCM, but we don't need to go through those tonight at item 5.1. And item 5.2 isn't applicable to the agenda briefing. Items 6.1 and 6.2 also not applicable, which brings us through to item 6.3, deputations. And that's purely giving a heads up that there are 2 deputations that we made at the ordinary council meeting next week. The first will be delivered by Mr Arthur Parsons regarding the Smashed Avo Festival, and the second will be presented by Councillor Bailey. Sorry, Councillor Bailey.
No, I appreciate I'm not here often, so you don't look over here. I accept that. Sorry, look, I'll take you back
Your
to...
presence is valued.
Yeah. Take you back, if I can, to question from Mr David to you. On that situation out there, I looked at Map Viewer some weeks ago, and his question is, what can we do about all the problems on Gardner Road? And it looks like there are quite a few of them out there, boundary-wise.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. CEO, the response would be similar, wouldn't it? Even though the road encroachments is an example, it's the response for all of the items addressed. Do we need to edit that at all? The encroachments have been addressed by the SAT and orders issued. The Shire will be responsible for the enforcement of the orders. So it's a generic, I think by saying plural encroachments, but I'll hand it over to you, CEO.
Yeah, okay. Look, I think through the chair, the way that staff have interpreted this question is the problems in relation to the matters that went before SAT, in regards to Mr Chuia and the landowner there. However, if there's a broader interpretation, then we can take that one on notice and look at amending the response accordingly.
Yeah, and I understood that to be correct. So the stuff that went to SAT isn't all of the problems out there. And I know we're not addressing that at this stage, but at some stage we'll probably have to.
Yeah, so look, I don't want to sort of enter into debate, but yeah, the reality is that the matter that was before council was around Mr Chuia and that SAT determination, as per staff's responses to questions. That matter was brought to the attention of staff through a complaints process. To my knowledge, we haven't had any formal complaints on any of the other properties, so we don't have a proactive compliance investigation regime, so that's why we took a very strict interpretation of that question.
Thank you, CEO. Councillor Lindeman.
I just want to ask a question in regards to the presentations, presentation.
So we're popping back up to where we were.
Deputations,
before.
beg your pardon, 6.3. I just believe we had a discussion that we were going to encourage deputations at the agenda briefings, giving us more time to assess, listen, think, ask questions, pardon me, and come back. So I was just questioning why we're having 2 on the day.
Thank you, Councillor Lindeman. Would you like to respond, CEO?
Yeah, so Council, you'll recall a number of workshops ago we spoke about the broader parameters, the rules of engagement, the code of meeting practice and local laws. And you're exactly right, Councillor Lindeman, there was a discussion around allowing deputations to occur at the agenda briefing sessions. That would require an amendment to the current policy or the adopted position or the guidelines, which is essentially like a policy position. Staff have undertaken the first draft of that amendment of the guidelines, and we'll be looking at bringing it up to a workshop, to the next councillor workshop.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lindeman. Now, are we okay if I move through that then, with the 2 deputations being presented? And then I'll keep moving on? Okay. Sorry for not picking that up, Councillor Bailey, earlier. Moving to item 6.4, delegates' reports. It's not applicable tonight. Taking us through to item 7, confirmation of minutes. At 7.1.1, we have the ordinary council meeting minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of July 25. Are there any questions, councillors? Councillor Davey?
Apologies, it was the audit meeting I wanted to talk about, that's 7.1.3.
Okay. And 7.1.2, any questions for the special council meeting held on the 6th of August 2025? Thank you. And 7.1.3, you have a question, Councillor Davey?
No, I wrote down the wrong number. It's the audit meeting, so it's 8.1.3.
Okay, so we'll move on from 7.1.3, with special council meeting held on the 13th of August. No questions? Moving into reports of committees. I think we're in the right spot now. Okay, 8.1.1, South West Regional Road Group Committee meeting held on the 28th of July 2025. Any questions? Councillor Mitchell?
Yes, you'll notice that the next meeting for the Regional Road Group is after the election but before the meeting when members are appointed. And the Regional Road Group were allowed to have proxies. However, when we appointed people to committees at the Donnybrook Shire level, we didn't appoint a proxy. So I'd just like maybe address there or somewhere about who will be attending that meeting, because there's some interesting things happening. And in this, that's the question.
Okay. CEO, what are the regulations around how we
Yeah,
do
so look,
that?
thanks very much for your question, and through you, Chair. I acknowledge that Councillor Mitchell did provide an email around this highlighting this the timing issue. So I'm not sure, Mr Marshall, I know we had a brief conversation about this, whether we get a report up to the next council meeting endorsing another councillor to attend as a proxy in your absence, councillor. So leave that with us. We'll take it on notice and come back to you. Yep.
Will we need to do that in next week's meeting?
Potentially, just
Yes.
yeah. I'll just
Okay.
distill it a little bit, and I'll come back to you with some advice on a way forward.
Thanks for picking that up, Councillor Mitchell. Any other questions regarding 8.1.1? 8.1.2, Local Emergency Management Committee meeting. Are there any questions? None? And item 8.1.3, Councillor Davey, do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry,
Oh,
the items
just
listed.
before you do, just one moment. CEO, I believe you mentioned that you had a comment regarding.
So thanks very much, Chair. There's just two items I wanted to draw councillors' attention to. Obviously, the covering report provides the recommendations that came out of the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting held on the 31st of July. But I'll draw councillors' attention to item 7.1.2, which is the Risk Management Report or Update. And just note there that it was a suggestion raised by staff or through myself that we facilitate a joint Audit Risk Management Committee and councillor workshop to identify our strategic risks. Obviously, we've done a lot of good work at officer level, and we'll be bringing that up to a future meeting of the Audit and Risk Management Committee around our operational risks. But I think there's a gap in regards to us identifying and making sure we've got the correct mitigation strategies in place, and we have an acceptable sort of residual level of risk for our broader strategic risks. And then just in regards to item 7.1.3, and I hope I don't steal your thunder, Councillor Davey, but item was on the agenda to do the review of the investment policy due to the attendance and the fact that one of the committee members had a conflict of interest, and if we were to proceed with discussing that matter at the committee meeting, that committee member would have had to have left the room because it was an indirect financial interest. Therefore, the meeting would have been incorate, and therefore we couldn't have made a recommendation. So it was agreed that matter would come directly to council for determination tonight, and it's on the agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Davey.
Yeah, apologies for the confusion. It's got item 7's listed through here, which I had written down. So I have a question regarding process. So the item here, you can see it says that council receive the unconfirmed minutes from the Audit and Risk Management Committee and then adopt the recommendations from that. I would have thought that it would be required that we have an out-of-session approval of the minutes before we are then required to adopt the recommendations therein. In case there are any changes to the minutes and then council have gone ahead and adopted recommendations from unconfirmed minutes. This was something similar that came up at the Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils last week, and so I just wanted to tidy that up and perhaps ask that the committee members be asked to endorse the minutes prior to the OCM, so in the next week, so then we can adopt the recommendations from confirmed minutes.
So look, thanks very much for raising that, and I agree from a governance and process that is more sound. I understand that the draft minutes were distributed not long after the meeting, and I don't believe there's any replies made, but I understand there needs to be a flying minute and from a governance perspective, specific endorsement of same. So we take that on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Thank you, CEO. Are there any other questions regarding item 8.1.3, Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting? Okay, moving through to item 9, Director of Operations or Reports of Officers, and 9.1, Director of Operations. To item 9.1.1, Donnybrook Clock Tower proposal. Are there any questions regarding the report? Councillor Mitchell?
I do believe at a discussion it was mentioned that there is a plaque currently in place commemorating the rejuvenation of the main street, and I think at the time it was said that there's a amount, in inverted commas, of other plaques that have been around the Shire but are now sort of stored but not being displayed. Was that fact or fiction?
Director of Operations, are you able to answer that?
Yeah, it certainly can, through the chair. Councillor Mitchell, you're correct that there are a number of plaques in archives. What I guess the problem we have is we've collected them all. I'm not really sure what to do with them, but we do have a number upstairs in the archive room, so you're quite correct.
Are there many? Are there many?
I haven't actually counted them, presiding member, but yeah, that would be interesting to do an audit and have a look. But yeah, look, I know there's some up there just through rummaging, trying to find other records that councillors might ask us questions about. Just take that a little tongue in cheek. But as far as an audit goes, no, we haven't really done that. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Bailey?
Through the chair, I'm sure it's a question that's already been answered, but I see here costing on stone and bricks. Is it a combination of stone and bricks, or is it stone or bricks, or depending on price? Or?
Director of Operations?
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair, my understanding is the outside you will see is all Donnybrook stone. There may be, depending on the structural engineering, there may be some bricks inside that might sort of form part of the structure, but that sort of detail is yet to be determined by an engineer. It's really, this stage is just getting the public comment before money is spent on the engineering, as you could appreciate. So that may be the case, may not.
Yeah, thank you very much. But the main thing is that the outside will be Donnybrook stone.
100%.
That's the feature. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Okay, so short list for you, Director of Operations. Moving on to Director of Finance and Corporate. Reports at 9.2. 9.2.1. Meta coming up to answer her questions. Schedule of accounts paid as at the 31st of July 2025. Do councillors have any questions? We'll go Councillor Lindeman first.
Yeah, thank you. Pardon me, through the chair, just a couple of 31164. It's the Recruit West casual labour hire up at 5,000, 2,100, and the other one was 31211 at 2,309. Both of those are also labour hire. I just wondered, they were last month we had labour hire, so I'm just wondering how we're going in the process of I don't know, recruiting, or maybe moving into some permanent or part-time or casual staff of our own?
CEO?
Yeah, so look, through the chair, I might open up with some with a response and then pass over to Mr Marshall for something more specific. But look, generally, councillors will be aware we've got a number of vacancies. But as they say, the show must go on. So we've had to provide some short-term backfill. However, now that we do have our permanent HR coordinator on board, we are embarking on a sustained period of recruitment into positions as approved by council as part of the workforce plan. So I'm not sure whether Mr Marshall has anything further to add in regards to recruitment and labour hire.
Through the chair, I guess not really, just understanding that we've relied on labour hire recently for two reasons. One is because of the HR presence, but also just the difficulty we've had in finding and recruiting and retaining some people in that area. It's been quite a challenging market, and services don't stop. So we've gone for the alternative, which is through a recruitment agency. That's been pretty useful as well. We've actually found some new team players, which have been that maybe we wouldn't have touched before, or they may not have actually considered opportunities at the Shire. But we still are very busy recruiting, because we've been through a very busy period. Particularly, I think we've had like over 50 trees come down in the last 6 weeks, which has just been extraordinary. So all of our business as usual is sort of backlogging a bit as well. So we're very, very active in that space recruiting, and the recruitment companies have been very helpful to us. Otherwise, it would be, the stress levels would be a lot more than what they are now. And it is a good way to onboard. I think if you're familiar with the recruitment process, okay, we do pay a premium. However, the premium is not much more than what our on-cost would be anyway. And there's also that period of, you can have them up to 3 months, and then you literally don't, then you can transfer them over without a cost, or additional cost, if you like. So it is actually quite an efficient way to onboard as well.
Thank you.
I think Councillor Davey.
There's just a number of fuel costs for someone to take a trip up to Exmouth, so I just wanted to check that was for work purposes or under an approved contract.
Yes, so look, all the those transactions have been approved in accordance with either a work contract or for work purposes.
Any other questions? Councillor Glover?
Yes, I do have a couple of them. So in regard to the LGIS WA, the first instalment being 482,629, how many more instalments are there? Is that just like a 6-monthly instalment, or is it, what's the frequency?
Councillor Glover?
EFT 1407.
EFT 1.
And do you have a page number? That's all right, we can try and find it with that.
EFT.
Page 27. But however, I'm looking at an old agenda, so it might not be. Sorry.
Down the bottom, LGIS WA insurance, 482,000 first instalment. It would just be our annual. There's two. Yes. Yeah. So, sorry.
Meta, do you?
Through the chair, that is a first instalment, and there will be one more after that. So there's 2 instalments.
And that's for our general insurances?
That's correct.
Yep, thank you. Yep. Councillor Glover?
Sure, thank you, through the chair. So EFT 31380, it's WA Country Health, and it's for a Synergy account. I'm just wondering if that is just something that we pay and then we get reimbursed for.
Have you got it there? Here it is here.
There we go.
31380.
Right.
Medical Centre quarterly electrical charges.
Oh. I'd say we pay it and they reimburse it.
We'll take that on notice, Councillor Glover.
Can I ask one more, but it's of
Yep.
2 items, and I believe that I found out what the answer was today, but just for clarity for the people who might be listening at home, that is EFT 31247 and EFT 31249, which is venue hire of VC Mitchell. So one of the amounts was going to the tennis club, and the other one was going to the football club. And I'm just wondering if, for our viewers, if we can just explain the process of why they're in there as well, and to clarify why the Shire is paying those amounts to those clubs.
Thank you, Councillor Glover. We take that on notice? Yep. We will take that on notice. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
There you go.
Through the arrangement with the licence holders of the Pavilion 1 and Pavilion 2, the agreement is that the higher fees will go to the licence holders, who are the football club and the tennis club. So even if the Shire uses the facilities, we have to pay, which is offset by other charges, sorry.
So those fees are for the Shire hiring those venues, and they're getting paid to the club.
Yes, sorry, through the chair, and yes, which is offset obviously by the maintenance costs that the group's paying as per the licence. The Shire was, as per the contract, as per the licence, given 4 hire usages, which were sort of used up pretty much before it is even open. So yeah, it's just we're needing to use the venue a lot more.
Any more? No? Okay. Councillor Mitchell.
Happy for this to be taken on notice, but it will also link into something that Mrs Clifford just said. EFT 31423, 31st to the 7th, to page 28, Total Hygiene Services, VC Mitchell Park, Pavilion 1, sanitary bins, 506. Is that for the past or going forward? Because I notice under the lease that that's the football club responsibility.
Through the chair, we'll take that one on notice, if that's okay.
Yep, take it on notice.
Yes, and on the strength of what was just said, I understand the lease hire agreement started on the 1st of May, which may well affect that payment. However, if that payment's affected by the 1st of May, the 4 uses, or however many it was, I'm assuming it run from the 1st of May.
I think weren't we operating under those lease conditions from before? Or do we need to take that on notice? Yeah, take it on notice.
Yeah, it's just that I just sort of thought if one's from the first, the hire for the Total Hygiene Services from the 1st of May, you know, when that agreement was signed, but we've already used up our 4, there just needs to be some equity. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Lindemann.
Through the chair, I'm not sure who can really answer this one, but it's the EFT 31303, and it's the Minimup cottages, and you've got the civil legal advice for a deceased tenant. Now, I'd imagine you're going to have a few deceased tenants at some point. We're all going to pass away.
Yep.
Is this something we budget for or prepare for people who don't have next of kin or wills written or any of those things? Are we sort of preempting and deciding to prepare for this sort of thing, or are we always going to be incurring the cost of this sort of stuff as we are the carers of these tenants?
Yep.
Or these
So
premises, sorry.
Through you, Chair. So, look, obviously we have an annual legal budget of which this comes out of. I believe we won't go into the details in open session, but this one is a particularly curly one, for the want of better terminology. So we have spent quite a bit of money, up to $10,000, I believe, is the last bill, and it's just given the nature of the circumstances, there's been some specific advice required and ongoing advice. But my understanding was that if I assume this hasn't been the first time that this has happened, but this one is particularly unique. Yeah, not recoverable under insurance. So, you know, councillors, I don't want to segue into a different topic, but staff are doing an assessment and a service review of the broader community housing, which we've touched on a number of times with councillors. So all this stuff will be grist for the mill in making a decision moving forward.
Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell.
On the strength of that, do all current tenants, do they all have current next of kins listed so that this situation should never happen? And
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take that one on notice, councillors. Councillor, sir. Yep.
Okay. Any further questions on the accounts paid as at 31st of July 2025? Right, moving on to 9.2.2, Council Policy FIN/CP-2 investments. CEO, would you like to introduce this topic, or should Meta? Thank you. Mrs. Hazelden, I'm sorry.
Thank you, President McCarthy, through the chair. Included in the attachments is a draft council policy with the changes that are recommended. So the last time the current council policy investments has been reviewed was in 2021, and in the last audit it was noted that this policy should be reviewed every year. So fortunately it's 3 years past its review date. Upon reviewing the policy, there is a specific exception there for the Bendigo Bank. So the Shire can invest funds with the Bendigo Bank, and the limit is 75% of all Shire funds. However, within the normal policy, outside of the exception, any sort of banks, any financial institutions with the similar credit rating such as Bendigo is set at 20%. So only 20% of Shire funds can be invested within such institutions. However, because the Shire actually uses the Bendigo Bank as its main operating account, and there's a lot of transactions that go through there, it's been recommended to lower that 75% down to 50%.
Thank you, Mrs. Hayes. Oh,
Yeah, no, that's
okay. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Lindemann?
Yeah, could I just ask, is that sort of investment, when you talk investment, or is it you're talking about money in and out as an access account, number one? That's my first question.
Yeah, I should say all funds, investments and normal municipal funds for payments. And, yeah, the operating
So
account.
clarifying, it's all 75% of the Shire funds are in there currently?
No, not
No.
currently. I think it's probably closer to around 50% at the moment. However, we can't go above that 75%. That's within
That's
the
the upper
policy.
limit.
That's
Upper
the
limit.
limit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So just to clarify, so the policy can allow the Shire to have up to 75% maximum with Bendigo Bank. Yes, so that's what we're looking at, reducing down to 50%. But yes, the day-to-day operating account runs on that because obviously
So
there's
to be
interest
clear,
in-
we're reducing the upper limit.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got one more follow-up. Is
Councillor
that...
Lindemann.
Thank you. Is that the bank itself, or are you talking about an institution that you can't hold? You're naming Bendigo, but is it an actual institution that you can't hold 75% or more than the 75, reducing down to 50%? Or is it namely that bank, and why that bank? Do we not? Is there government
it's
guarantee on banks?
Specifically Bendigo, isn't it?
So the exception is only for Bendigo. So not to invest more than 75% with Bendigo. So with other financial institutions that are rated a similar rating, such as Bendigo, the limit is 20%.
So, councillor, I believe, and hope to be corrected, that this is not uncommon for other councils where there is a community bank or a community branch. I guess it's a vote of confidence by the local government in that local financial institution, and whilst it may present a higher level of risk, so traditionally these sort of banks and building societies have a lower credit rating than obviously the big four, so they do, it's that sort of risk and return dynamic. However, they are the only sort of bank in town, so I think it's a sign of confidence that council does have a limit. And I believe the 75% has been reviewed and believed to be a little bit high based on a risk-based approach and getting a good blend across our investment portfolio. So we're looking at reducing it down to 50%. And then obviously there's different investment instruments that have different upper thresholds as well. But this is quite high.
Sorry, if I could just add on to that as well. So the policy actually limits how much we can invest with certain banks based on their credit rating. So throughout that, so this is an exemption, on top of that one as well.
Can I add one?
Councillor, sorry. Mrs Hazeldine.
Just wanted to note that in 2024, Bendigo's rating was upgraded and it's remained stable since then. Yeah.
Councillor Davey.
I would think that the risk exposures would be different for investments like term deposits versus transaction accounts. Is there a reason that we're putting them both together and not looking at investment versus transactions? Because there's practicalities around having a local bank for transactions. So is there a reason they're put together?
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Mrs Hazeldine, are you able to answer that, or do you want to take that on notice?
Yeah, probably take that.
Yep, we'll take that on notice.
Yeah. I guess it's probably just about the total amount of holdings, whether short, medium, long term, but yeah, you raise a good point, councillor, so we can take that on notice and come back to councillors.
Any further questions? Councillor Glover.
I'm unsure whether this question actually relates to this policy, but I can't see anything written about it. But the investing money into the bank, obviously there's going to become an income that comes from that, some revenue. It doesn't say anything in this policy, or should it or shouldn't it, that relates to where that revenue goes to as well, whether it goes into general spending or whether it gets reinvested into the investment. It could or couldn't relate to this topic. I'm not sure of this policy.
So I'm happy to provide a response if you like.
Sorry?
I'm happy to provide a response if you like.
Thank you, CEO.
Yeah, so obviously at budget time, councillors, we make a number of assumptions around our interest revenue and interest returned, and it just goes into consolidated revenue. So there's not as if it's earmarked or rolled back over. I'm not sure whether Mrs Hazeldine or Mrs Clifford had anything further to add to my comments, but yeah, it's just seen as an income stream and goes into council budget process.
Can I just ask one thing, just to clarify what that means? Does it go back into that account, to the reserves, to accumulate fund, or does it just go into general spending?
So it's seen as an income stream, just like any other income stream. So yes, so any interest that's earned is accounted for or is assumed when we set the budget, and it's seen as a revenue stream or an income stream. Yep. So it's not reinvested back in. No, it's used
through a decision to invest.
Yeah, that's right. So, but it's used to pay for ongoing operations. So it's just one of the sources of income for council.
And then, but can we just clarify? It's recorded as interest income, but in our budget we might decide to put, as we might decide to put a pot of money into reserves, and that would then get invested. But you recognise the income as interest income. Did you have another question, Councillor Glover? Go on.
It wasn't really a question. I just remember having the discussion around that previously, and my assumption or my understanding of when that question was raised previously, that the income was going back into the reserves accounts, not going into general spending. I thought that that decision got changed when we had our temporary CEO, Gary Hunt, around that. So, but I couldn't say whether that's actually was a resolution or whether that was something that we discussed in a workshop. So I
do
can't
recall
be sure.
that discussion.
Yeah, that's right. Because I know
we'll
previously, previously it did go
door.
into general spending, but then the decision was made at some point that it was going there. But I can't remember how that decision was made and whether it was a actual resolution.
We'll take it on notice.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to 9.2.3. The report that's providing a review of local laws under section 3.16 of the Local Government Act 1995. Now, I believe Acting Director, Finance and Corporate, Mrs. Clifford, is going to speak on that.
Thank you, through the chair. So this report presents the outcome of the statutory review of the Shire's 14 local laws. It's just the requirement under the Local Government Act that we need to do. The review ensures our local laws remain current, compliant and reflective of the community needs and the current legislative changes. We're asking Council to resolve by absolute majority whether each local law should be amended or remain unchanged. The commencement of the legislative process for amending the 5 local laws, which is the Bushfire Brigade local law, the dog local law, the extractive industries local law, local government property local law and the parking facilities local law. So we'll start the process, we're requesting that we start the process for amending those 5 local laws out of the 14. The public consultation that was undertaken was the public notice that was issued across multiple platforms in respect to asking for public comments. The submissions that were received with feedbacks on the cemeteries, extractive industries and the parking local laws, and that's noted in the report throughout. Staff reviewed each local law for their legislative alignment and operational relevance, as well as the community impact. There are recent requirements around the amendments to the requirements for us to review our local law, which will be pushed out from every 8 years to every 15 years. So it's important that we address the changes that need to be made now, and it's mentioned throughout the report if those requirements will come into effect or not.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Davey?
I might have the meeting title incorrect, but I thought when we went to the Welga AGM last year, we actually supported the amendment to the CAT local law around enforcing enclosure. So given that that's on the cards and it's something that we supported, why isn't it being considered for amendment as part of this process?
Thank you, Councillor Davey.
From my brief memory, it's just we're waiting for the regulations to come into play. I don't think they've come in just yet. So we would have to be then making further amendments down the track. And due to the process timing, it's better to wait until they come in.
Councillor Davey?
Yeah, further question on timing. When are the amended CAT local law regulations expected to come through, and then how would that then flow on to our local law review timelines? Like, are we talking 3, 5 years, 1 year?
Thank you, Councillor Davey.
I'll have to take that one on notice.
Sorry. Director of Operations.
Through the chair, Councillor Davis, a good question, because we actually received advice advising that it's been deferred indefinitely, which so we don't actually have a timeline. We have followed it up. We've asked for a timeline, so yeah, we can take it on notice. But I think what we'll do is we'll follow it up again just to see if there is any advice forthcoming. But it sort of was, it was like a bit of a sword when it came down as a shock, really, that it wasn't going to be implemented with no real explanation as to why. So we'll follow that up again.
There was very broad support for it, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was, yeah. And we were expecting it to be implemented, but it hasn't, but we did get official advice, so we'll follow it up again and see if there's anything we can add or bring back to council.
We didn't have the dates unless he's got something.
Thank you, Director of Operations. Director of Finance Corporate, have you got anything to add? No. Any further questions for local laws? Okay, 9.2.4, Code of Conduct for Council members, committee members and candidates. CEO, would you like to introduce the report? Oh, sorry. Director of Finance and Corporate.
Thank you, and through the chair. So this report presents the proposed amendments to the Shire of Donnybrook Baling Up's Code of Conduct for Council members, committee members and candidates. The code was originally adopted by Council in 2021 following the local government model code of conduct regulations that were brought in. which outlines the standards of the behaviours and expected of elected and prospective representatives of the council. The review has identified minor changes, including formatting changes to align with current administrative templates and the inclusion of the new introduction section, which reflects the Shire's values and the governance principles. These additions aim to enhance the clarity and reinforce the importance of these ethical conducts in civic leadership. No legislative changes necessitating amendment have been identified. However, the removal of the defined terms supplementary page was previously included for reference, and there's actually, it's recommended that that not be part of the mandatory code of conduct, as it doesn't actually come into effect or change anything for the code of conduct, so we've said to remove that. It's also was part of the Reg 17 action item to be considered. We were going to wait until after council changes after the elections. However, it's best to bring it forward and get those changes made after we've adopted the values.
Yeah, and probably just to add to that, thanks, Ms Clifford.
Sorry, CEO.
Just in regards to the timing, council, as well, obviously, as the code of conduct applies to candidates as well, that was the reason why we brought it forward, as to where we're at with the election cycle as well.
Do councillors have any questions? Councillor Mitchell?
This is a wished code of conduct, you know, that you aspire to and hope people would abide by. There's no penalties or teeth in it, is there? You know, like, you can generally, anything with local government, you just do your own thing, don't you?
No, there are sections there where you can register a breach of the code and make a complaint and process that complaint.
So there's a broad
CEO?
There's a broad code of conduct and behavioural framework that's codified in legislation, and a breach of the code of conduct is a minor breach, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's seen as a minor breach, and it has certain penalties if it's held true.
And are those penalties, you know, like I as a councillor, if I breach it, is it I'm stood down from meetings like a breach of the, you know, football or because in the past I've experienced many times it was just toothless.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. It's probably a bit more of a debate style comment that we can save until next week. Yeah, observation. Can I just... I would like to ask a question. I've been quite keen on the values that were presented by the staff and the work we did on those values. Is there a reason why you haven't used those values in this report rather than the... I don't know how to question this without making an observation, but...
No, that's fine. Look, thanks for drawing that to our attention, Shire President. We'll just double check that it should be the updated values that are in there. If indeed that they're not, then that's just an administrative oversight and we can update those, because this is exactly, or should be, hand in glove with our newly adopted values. Yep.
Any other questions on item 9.2.4? Okay, moving on to item 9.2.5, the Taliesin Stakeholder Reference Committee. Councillors, we'll first go for questions, but then I'd also like, although we're not debating or deciding it tonight, to ask if there are any expressions of interest, but we'll go with questions first. Councillor Davey?
Yeah, I just want to noted it's not a conflict as such for this item, but my partner works for Taliesin, so I won't be nominating through the expression of interest process.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Are there any other questions? Councillor Mitchell?
Once again, new council coming up, and one of the first items that come to the new council is the nomination for membership of the different committees. So with this, my thoughts are, obviously there's probably needs to be someone in the position until the new council, but my thoughts, is it realistic to appoint someone for the 12 months or 14 months, will be more than that, through to the net, you know, with the all committees are declared vacant and reappointed in October?
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. I understand there's a timing on this. Is there, CEO?
Yeah, so look, through the chair, I acknowledge Councillor Mitchell's observation. We did have that discussion with Taliesin about the timing. I understand that a number of the other positions have been filled or are in the process of being filled. So the reason why staff have brought this to council this evening is that that committee is getting up and running. I would hate to a voice of our community not be represented, but acknowledge some of the timing issues and some of the procedural matters, given the fact that post-election that all those committee representations will be spilled and then reappointed.
CEO, does that mean we would fill these positions and then spill them again in 2 months? Thank you.
That's correct.
Yep. Okay. And is there any expressions of interest for the roles? Councillor Patrick and Councillor Lindeman? Any further questions? 9.2.6, the Walga Local Government Convention and Annual General Meeting 2025. And again, there's no decision or debate for tonight, but we will further explore the expressions of interest. But the report works on a national basis, a rotational basis. The report does state that it works on a rotational basis, and I've sent out an email previously to you all asking for your expressions of interest. And of the councillors who didn't attend last year, Councillor Lindeman has expressed an interest. So we'll just note that. Now, any questions or comments? Councillor Glover?
In regard to what you just spoke about being a rotational basis, when did that come into play? Because previously it was open to everybody who wanted to attend, and I wasn't aware that there was any discussion around how that was changed. So how did that come about that it's now been termed as a rotational basis?
So we're looking at, your question is, what's the origin of the comment for having this as a rotational basis?
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you.
Do we need to take that on notice?
No, so look, that was obviously in the officer's report. If that's not correct, then that's up for councillors to determine. My understanding was that it has been done on a rotational basis, but I'm happy to stand corrected.
No.
Let's avoid debate. We can get to that next week. And so were there any further questions? And are there any further expressions of interest since I sent that email out? I know there was a couple of non-responses. You responded, Lisa. Any others? No? Okay. If there's no further questions, we'll go on to 9.2.7, the date change for the September Ordinary Council meeting. Are there any questions? No? Thank you, councillors. Moving to 9.2.8, Summit Against Anti-Semitism. Request to attend, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say that this has come onto the agenda probably rather late.
This is a late, sorry, I should mention that. It's a late addition to the agenda, and CEO is going to explain the context of the report. Thank you.
I'll have to.
Well,
If it's a financial interest, which
if it's a financial matter, you need to leave it.
It is a financial interest.
It's a financial interest, then you do need to leave. That is one of the ones that's not. Which is disclosing the gift. I don't think it's a conflict of interest. So anyway, we can talk about that later. Yep. Yeah, I don't believe it is a conflict of interest. So.
Sorry, what was that, Councillor Patrick?
Yeah, look, just to be really open, and I understand Councillor Glover has declared it as a financial interest. I struggle with that a little bit. I believe it's very similar to any other sort of appointment to a conference. But I guess on this one, it's seen that it is a gift, so perhaps that's the point of difference, I believe, Mrs. Clifford.
It's not own source funds, it's a gift.
No, so maybe if you could provide a bit of clarity as to why this one's a little bit different.
Sorry, my understanding was that because it's a gift, that she'd be getting there's a financial gain there as the gift, but however, as she's declared it as a gift, she could then still remain in the room
Okay.
for the partake in the
So
meeting.
should we recall? Councillor's happy to recall. Councillor Davey?
Isn't it up to the councillor to determine if they have an interest, and therefore she's determined that?
That's what, yep, okay, fine. All right, that's a good comment, Councillor Davey. Okay, so CEO, to explain the context of this report or of this request. You able to explain the context?
You really go. So, look, councillors, this matter is brought before you this evening. It does trigger, obviously, some requirements under two council policies. I understand that the invitation was sent to all Shire presidents and deputy Shire presidents.
Yes, I did receive.
You received it, yep. To attend the summit against anti-Semitism over in the Gold Coast from the 3rd to the 5th of September. The airfares, conference registration and accommodation is to be all paid for by the summit organisers. So therefore it does trigger the fact that it is actually seen as a gift. It's an interesting sort of dynamic. I'm not going to cast any further judgment or sermon around the relevance of it for our Shire, but it's something that Councillor Glover has expressed an interest in attending, and it needs to be endorsed by a council resolution.
Are there any questions? Councillor Davey?
I haven't seen this item, and it's not in the current version that I can see online.
I've got it on my current version. Yep.
So,
Yep. So, councillors, as I said in my opening remarks, this has come sort of as a late-ish sort of item. In the links that were sent out on Friday, it obviously wasn't included because we were waiting for some detail to be provided to pull together the report. Staff have pulled the report together and provided as soon as possible.
And Councillor Lindeman, do you have a question?
Yeah, who's organising it? Who's paying the fares for every?
The Mayor of, do you remember the Shire? Gold Coast, the Mayor of Gold Coast.
Well, I don't know whether they're paying for it.
Yeah, it's a summit,
That's-
but there's no who's the funder, who's the
No
who
idea,
are the who's the
councillor. I know-
group
although
behind
From
the
the
invitation.
invitation I got, it was, he was partnering, the Mayor was partnering with another organisation whose name I can't remember.
Well, that's my question: is
And-
who's backing this? And I would like to know who's paying to fund this. You need to know who you're going to
And-
be associated with
and what are
when
the
someone puts on something for free.
Yep.
That's
Okay,
what I
we
want to
can-
know.
We can, what do we do, take that on
Yeah,
notice?
so councillors, it looks like it's being funded by the Combat Anti-Semitism Movement.
You need to dig deeper than that. Who are the combat?
No idea, councillors. Yeah.
Councillor Patrick.
To ask a question, are we aware that this is funded through the Australian Israel Chamber of Commerce, which is also in turn funded by a number of companies, one of them being a steel company called Bilasoy, who fund arms and steel munitions to Israel?
If that's a question to me, no, is the answer.
Yep, we'll take that on notice.
Well, I'm not taking it on notice. I didn't.
What's the
I
question
didn't
then?
know.
But we haven't got an answer? Are we aware? Okay. Any other questions, councillors? I have a question. Is Councillor Glover representing the Shire by attending? And what are we asking to have represented?
Yes, so my understanding is that as the invitation came to Councillor Glover and indeed yourself in your capacity as Shire President and Deputy Shire President, then if Council sees fit to endorse Councillor Glover's attendance, then she would be seen as representing the Shire. Under the relevant policy, there is a requirement for a post-conference report to be brought back to Council. As to whether proactively you wish, if indeed Council supports it, you wish to brief Council Councillor Glover and provide some guidance on the matter, or that's up to council to determine.
And last question, is there an agenda that we can look at?
Have a look at I believe the agenda's in the attachment, councillors, that's been distributed. Yeah, so it was only late this afternoon that we sent it out, or we received it. Okay, we can bring it up on the screen if you like, councillors.
I didn't remember seeing that.
No, it was all.
Councillor Patrick, while that's coming up.
Thank you. Look, I guess my question is, it's a genuine question. Are we aware or concerned of any anti-Semitism, or the agenda itself also talks about racism in general, not just anti-Semitism? Are there any concerns from the Shire administration or the broader community that we're aware of these things being an issue within the Shire of Donnybrook-Baileynup?
Not entering that.
I'm not aware.
It's not something we're
Not
actively
something we're
managing,
aware of.
to be honest, councillor.
Okay. So there's the agenda. And we don't have the program then, that's the agenda.
That's all we've got.
Okay, so it's not available yet. Okay, any further questions? We can have, if you're, no further questions? Okay, moving on to 9.3, Chief Executive Officer. 9.3.1, the Asset Optimisation Tranche 1 Community Consultation Report. CEO, would you like to introduce?
Very briefly, thanks, Shire President. So, look, councillor, I'll take the report and the attachment, which was the Excel file and the raw data provided as part of the engagement process, as read. I guess there's a couple of items just wanted to draw councillors' attention to, and that's on page 63 of 66 of my report that just talks about the survey engagement overview. There's a really good graph there that's been provided. I thank Mrs Clifford for her assistance on this one. I guess in community engagement terms, you know, there's one thing to receive responses, but in the broader context about the reach of the engagement or indeed the survey, you can see that through the visual representation highlights that 1,835 individuals were reached, so it either came through their scroll on their Facebook page or through other online activities, and there was very little response, so 67 responded. So as you can see there in the sentence, in community engagement terms, represents a passive endorsement or lack of concern from the broader community around the proposals to sell them. So I also draw councillors' attention to the officer comment on the bottom of page 64, and then moving through against each of the consultation responses, and that just provides, I guess, a broader context to each of the parcels and some of the alternate actions that council may wish to consider. So happy to take questions, Shire President.
Thank you, CEO. Are there any questions? Councillor Mitchell?
I noticed the title of the item. It actually says to review the community consultation report, which is great, good report. However, the context of the item is we are going to do this, we are going to do that, yay or nay. However, I'm just wondering if there needs to be more wording around the long-term financial gains or not on these items, because otherwise the title of the report needs to change, and with consideration of sale or something like that. I just think the title of the item is the title of the item appropriate considering the content of the item?
Thank you. Councillor Mitchell, I don't know that we can answer that without getting into debate.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Glover.
Given that there are so many, like, what is it, 1, 2, 3, like 4 different, I think it's 4 lots of land that we're looking at, would it be an opportunity to actually take each piece one by one, because it groups it all together and it actually makes it a lot trickier to debate, and if someone else has got any interest in it or whatever, it just makes it a little harder to debate. I'm wondering
Councillor
if
Glover, that would be an amendment for the meeting next week. So we won't get into that. If you've got any questions, though, we can.
Well, I was
answer
asking if it would be possible, that was my first
You
part,
could
would it be
probably-
possible to actually separate the items?
You could raise that as an amendment at the meeting.
So you could,
CEO?
I was just going to say, probably from a procedural matter, you can request, it can be a procedure that they get dealt with what's called in seriatim, as in one after the other, one in turn. I understand for other items we've done that here. So are you suggesting that instead of there being one mover and one seconder for 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, you deal with them separately? Is that your suggestion?
What I am suggesting is, just to have each item, so we might agree that that would be okay for one, but not agree with another, or make an amendment. It's just a bit hard to debate or amend the whole item as it's written in this way.
So there's probably 2 ways, probably building on your initial comments. So there's, that's that's a procedural matter, so you can deal with each of those limbs or the officer recommendations separately, as I said, ad seriatim, or indeed, as the Shire President suggested, you could deal with it as an amendment, saying that council proceeds with the sale of A or of number 2, and doesn't proceed with number 3.
We're getting into meetings here.
We're getting
I think we're getting into the OCM, aren't we? We would be discussing this at the OCM, because there may be people around the table that may not want to move in that. Right. Councillor Patrick.
Look, this isn't a question, but I think if you try and take this to the OCM like this, you're going to have 7 different variations or alternatives and things as against, I think, can the council not decide or have a, I don't know, I think there's a lot of heads nodding in relation to what Councillor Glover has said. I just think trying to take it to the council is going to make it, to the OCM is going to make it very complicated, because you're going to have a bunch of alternatives proposed as against being able to deal with each of the 4 items individually. That's my thought. It's not a question.
Sorry, Councillor Lindemann?
No, I was just turning things into questions.
Sorry?
Turning statements into questions. Can I turn any statement into a question? Yes, I can. Can I?
Just a moment, please. Okay, so just before we go into further questions, we will deal with that at the OCM. You can either put an amendment through, or you can request or move a motion that it be dealt with, what was the word?
Ad seriatim or
Ad seriatim.
individually. So so that gets dealt with at the OCM. I was just providing a response to the question.
Okay. Councillor Bailey.
Through the chair, I assume because we've got different parcels of land, they'll be ready for marketing at different stages. Is that correct?
I didn't quite hear that. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Because we have different parcels of land, I assume that they'll be ready for marketing at different times.
Okay.
Would I be right in
if you've got-
assuming?
Sorry? Well, that was the question. I assume that they'll be ready for marketing at different times. Is that correct?
Thank you, Councillor Bailey.
Look,
CEO?
to answer your question through you, Shire President, the staff haven't contemplated anything further than what's in this report, including the timing of marketing. On the disposal of the property, yeah, we haven't got to that stage and dealt with that, so, yeah. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
probably just for clarity as well, councillors, yes, so this is not actually agreeing to the actual sale, and it's actually just taking that next step of taking them to the market, and then a report will be brought back to council to get a determination about whether that's a fair and reasonable price, if indeed we do get to that stage. So this is a sequential, we're taking one step at a time. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick. No, it's okay. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. My question, just in relation to, I'll just call it the Pony Club for ease. I note that, that there's a comment within the report, I actually can't see it right this second, that talks about that only a certain portion of the land is used by the Pony Club. And there was, you know, we could potentially look at locking a potential buyer in for 10 years. Is it a possibility, or could the Shire possibly go the other way and actually lease out the portion of the land to someone that might want to use it for an extractive industry, for example? Is that something that the council could do? I'm not saying it's what we want to do, but is it a possibility?
Thank you, Councillor Patrick.
Potentially, if I could
CEO?
take that on notice and have a response ready for, you could put it out there for a commercial lease over a proportion of that parcel. Yeah, that's probably doable.
Thank you. Councillor Glover.
Perhaps the question was just answered relating to it, but the voting requirement, is this going to be an absolute majority or a simple majority?
Be a simple majority through you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not clear on the item and...
Oh, sorry, we have amended that.
Oh,
In the most updated version. So thank you for your question.
Okay. Councillor Mitchell.
In relation to the CEO's comments just now, are we agreeing in principle to those items? It's, even though you've mentioned that it wasn't a final decision just now.
No, so the recommendation...
CEO?
Yeah, the recommendation-
recommendations that we proceed with the sale.
Yes.
And then if indeed that is council's resolution, then staff will go through the relevant disposal of an asset or disposal of property as required under the regs and the Act. But before any decision is made, the matter will be brought back to council to determine, yes, that's the, you know, whether it's X hundred thousands of dollars, depending on what the consideration is, and then sign off on the final sale for each parcel. So it's like a tender, I guess.
Councillor Lindemann.
Could I just ask, did we end up getting in contact with the Pony Club and getting some real facts on numbers and usage and all of those sorts of things? Is there any further information from the Pony Club?
I would suggest no. Has there been anything? I think it was non-responsive before.
Yeah, look, over a number of years, and I might get Mrs. Clifford to provide the bit of an overview and chronology, but I guess the bottom line up front is that as part of the lease renewal, there was a number of attempts by council staff to open a dialogue. There has been an informal discussion in regards to not entering into a formal lease, but a couple of licence fees over 2 years. But nothing formal, so I'm not sure whether you've got anything further to add because you were here and I wasn't.
No, so each time we tried to reach out to them, we've had no response in regards to the matter of the property management framework or the trying to contact them in regards to creating a new lease for that area. And also during the consultation process of this report itself, we also reached out to them as well and were not provided with a response.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Lindemann.
Well, just to follow up on that, with obviously social media able to extend information in regards to the Pony Club, has there been any response at all from any Pony Club member, any numbers at all?
I don't know if we can tell that from that pie chart.
So the
CEO?
I was going to say, so the only response we've had is the raw data that's provided in the Excel spreadsheet that is an attachment to the report. So that's obviously, for what about a terminology, flushed some of the comments out.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Glover, I might need that to be a little bit higher, or
Oh,
else I'm going to miss
sorry.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Through the Chair, just wondering, when you look at the raw data, there are people who've responded to the surveys. They're not from the Donnybrook-Barlingup Shire. Have they been included in it? Do we include them into the counting of the numbers of responses?
I believe so, yes. We just provided all the raw data and loaded it up. We didn't have a requirement for the survey response. So I guess that's one of the fallibilities of the survey process, is that there may be a number of degrees of separation geographically or of interest from those that respond to those that really are affected by the decision.
Can the same person respond more than once? Okay.
So again, this probably just goes back, Shire President, to a conversation we've had around our broader community engagement and survey that we're looking at embarking on about. It's just a survey. It's not market research. Yep.
Okay. Councillor Glover.
Is it possible to have a look at the property? I previously have had a look around, but I perhaps missed some of the detail in it as well. So is it possible to actually have a look at what is happening there? Because my view of it was, I obviously didn't see all of it when I went last time.
Is that for the...
Oh, for the Pony Club, yeah.
Yeah, we can organise those too.
Is anyone interested in going to the site? Anyone else? Councillor, is anyone else interested in visiting the site? 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, okay. Thank you, CEO.
A convoy.
All right. Any other questions? Moving on to item 11, new business of urgent nature, which is not relevant today. And then item 12, we're moving into meeting close to the public. We don't need to move a motion, but we need to turn off our live stream, but we will return. Actually, there's no need to return because we won't be reading any recommendations. So we will probably say good night to the live stream attendees, other than saying we can advise that the next ordinary council meeting will be held on the 27th of August 2025 at 5 p.m. in the Shire of Donnybrook, Barlingup Council Chamber. Thank you.